Corporations are about as American as apple pie. It's right up there with gun rights. It's corporations, man. And that's what makes America strong. Today I want to talk about corporate housing. Well, here we are in downtown Eureka, or just on the bay, Humboldt Bay, and David Cobb has made time in his day to maybe spend a few minutes and explain a few things that automatically I don't really understand too well, too in depth, and maybe help me in the future. So, David, how you doing?
I'm fine, thanks. Good to see you. Well, Hank, I consider myself a peaceful revolutionary. I'm a lawyer by training. I'm a community organizer. I've sued corporate polluters. I've lobbied elected officials. I've run for office myself. I helped to found the Green Party of Texas. I ran for Attorney General in Texas, pledging to use that office to revoke the charters of corporations that routinely violate the law. I ran for President of the United States on the Green Party ticket in 2004. But at the end of the day, I am a believer in the principles and values of liberty, justice, and equality. What you and I were taught as little boys, the United States was based on.
All right. So today's topic that I kind of want to cover is what kind of corporation is Walmart?
Well, Walmart is a huge transnational corporation.
All right. So it's transnational, means many countries.
Correct. That's right. And it is a behemoth, right? But to me, the interesting question is, what is a corporation? Because, the corporation is a tool. It's an instrument. It's a creature of the state, actually. A corporation only comes into existence if the state legislature grants articles of incorporation. So we, the people, could actually say, well, corporations can only be used for the public interest, which, by the way, was the case from the founding of this country. For the first, say, 7,500 years, corporate charters were only issued for limited amounts of time. They were only issued for specific purposes, like building a road system or building a canal or otherwise performing some sort of public good. You see, Hank, the core idea of a corporation in modern society is to limit liability, which is to say, to avoid legal responsibility. So if we're going to give the ability to avoid legal responsibility through the democratic governmental process, we should actually control what they're allowed to do or not do. The problem is, thanks to a horrific series of court decisions, we have basically turned corporations into instruments that are extracting, exploiting, oppressing. Corporations are not merely exercising power today. They're literally ruling over us. As surely as masters once ruled slaves, as surely as kings once ruled subjects, unelected and unaccountable corporate CEOs are using the corporate form to basically dictate how our society operates. That's not democratic.
All right. So it's a tool, but you said something that a corporation limits the liability, which kind of says that people or these things can do things and have and limit the amount of consequence they have. Is that kind of a problem with it?
Well, of course it is. I mean, that's literally what limited liability means. You limit the legal liability that instrument has. And the idea is you do it to encourage and incentivize certain things. And again, if the corporation were being used as it originally was for public benefit, then that incentive would make sense to me. But when you say, no, we're giving this incredible privilege, not a right, but a privilege of limited liability, you're literally, and you're saying that private individuals and the very wealthy can use this instrument. It's the reason that we see billionaires next to homeless people. It is a function that our legal system, our political system, our economic system are incentivizing the wrong things.
Now you're upsetting me. Okay, so because it's really true. Because someone could say, "Hey, I can do something very minute and small, and I'll go to jail for a year." But a corporation caused people, dozens of deaths, and no one will ever see the inside of a jail.
That's correct. And in fact, what's really disgusting is typically when corporations maim, murder, cause death, destruction, environmental devastation, at worst, they get a fine. And you know what happens? They pay the fine, write it off of their taxes as a business expense. It literally, corporations have completely hijacked not just the legal system, but our entire culture. It's pathological.
I want to cuss. Okay, so I start off with the idea of Walmart because Walmart. We all know the facts about Walmart. Their employees use Medicare and Medicaid. More government subsidies. Their company.
While the Walton family are billionaires, we, the people, our taxpayers, are literally subsidizing their employees' health care, their employee, like their housing, while billionaires are bilking us. It's a tragedy.
Okay, so now I'm having this kind of Simpson kind of side idea of looking at my landlord having a fleet of yachts and having limited liability. That one day maybe there may be a corporation that owns like 10,000 housing units. There is. So, oh my gosh, that future of the world, now that we have this model that we understand and know so well through Walmart's, and we are in a housing crisis, it seems to me that things aren't going to get better.
Well, they're not going to get better until we, the people, collectively organize ourselves and change the system, right? The problem is not that we have a good, fair economic and political system and we just need to tinker at the margins. The problem is that we have a system that incentivizes oppression, extraction, devastation. Here's the thing. Imagine for a moment, Henk, that we said, oh, we're going to treat housing as a human right. Well, if we did that, then we would have a completely different housing system. Did you know that there are somewhere between 5 and 8 empty housing units for every one single houseless person in the U.S.? Think about that for a minute. Literally, there are empty houses, and yet all this money is being spent to pay private developers to build more housing. I'm for housing, that's great. But let me just ask you this. So is it really a housing inventory problem? Of course not. We've got between 5 to 8 empty units for every individually houseless person. The problem is capitalism. The problem is that housing is treated like a commodity to be bought and paid for at a profit. If we had said housing is a human right, we could solve it like that. The same way if we said health care is a human right, we could solve it like that. Education, we could solve it like that. The point is we need a political and economic system that puts human need above corporate greed. That's what separates the Green Party from not only the Republicans, but the Democrats as well. Because Democrats and Republicans are both basic supporters of capitalism, of empire, and of an extractive dominator worldview and system. That's the reason I'm a Green. It's the reason I try to convince your viewers that they too should register Green. And even if they don't vote Green, they should register Green so that they can tell the society that they stand for peace, justice, democracy, and ecology.
Agreed. Here's the thing. Let's turn this conversation just at the very end on its side. We know we're talking as if it's a given, geometry, that housing is not a human right in the United States. You pay or hit the bricks. But yet, in many ways, we can spend a whole episode on that, being homeless is criminalized. The act of being homeless in this nation increases, almost ensures, your likelihood that you're going to be thrown in jail. So landlords throwing people out in the streets, because it's not their human right, they're going out in the streets and they're saying, hey, you're a criminal, right? Given, so let's say you were in an either or situation. Would you rather fight to make housing a human right? Or would it be a smaller problem just to ensure that in our communities, in our world, people stop treating homeless people like criminals?
Listen, what I would say is that that is not an either or. I mean, we should stop treating houseless people like criminals, and we should guarantee housing as a human right. And what's really interesting, there's a model called Housing First, where you say, let's just start by stabilizing houseless folks. Give them a house. Make sure that they have shelter. Every study, Henk, literally every study shows that when you do that, that's a better use of public funds. Like the overall tax burden actually goes down if you guarantee housing first, because then healthcare, mental health, like the whole series of other problems can be addressed more effectively using public money. Housing first works. What I've realized as I've grown older is that we were lied to. But that creation myth works on us, Henk, and it works on your viewers because people want to live in liberty, justice, and equality. I think the Green Party is the best way to make that a reality.
I agree. Thanks. All right, we did it.